Props to the defense for doing their jobs in an incredibly clutch situation, despite my regular belly aching during the stream about how they look all Jekyll and Hyde and everything. Welcome to the jungle, Bengals fans. I'm Kyle Phelps, and Joe Burrow is Patrick Mahomes' daddy. The Bengals took down the Kansas City Chiefs for the third time in as many contests between the Mahomes-era Chiefs and the Burrow-era Bengals. We're going to break down the game and what the result means going forward, but before we get into all that, I'd just like to ask that you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. It'll really help my channel out, and it'll help you know when all of my content comes out. Like these recap videos for every Bengals game. You don't want to miss it. You know what I don't want to miss? Any second of anything that these Cincinnati Bengals do. They're definitely not perfect, but I think the last year was a fluke crowd is pretty much dead in the water at this point. The Bengals are actually ahead of schedule at this point compared to last year, and that showed with the way they entered this game. We all know about the Bengals being 3-0 against the Chiefs in the last calendar year. But an important key is that the Bengals had to claw their way back and come from behind to win both those games last year. It's probably a big part of why people called them a fluke, because they had kind of weird looking games against the Chiefs, the ones that they won. But not this time. They got off to a hot start, looked like the better team throughout much of the contest, and won without any of that fancy shit. And by the way, how much of a fucking cheat code is Ja'Marr Chase? The Bengals got along just fine without him, but he comes back and is immediately the team's leading receiver. He finished the day with 7 catches for 97 yards, many of which were key first down plays, and yeah, he got a few penalties like the pass interference, which was a bit of an off play for him, but to be fair, there was also that taunting penalty, which was awesome when he flashed the money in Justin Reed's face on a T. Higgins touchdown. After Justin Reed's dumbass comments from this week, that was so satisfying. And yeah, he got a penalty, but honestly, the taunting rules are so incredibly stupid. I hate them more than I hate the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's saying something. So when I see Ja'Marr out there flaunting in the face of these awful taunting rules, it warms my heart. The NFL needs more taunting, in my opinion, not less. But either way, it definitely doesn't need this dumbass emphasis rule. So, thank you, Ja'Marr Chase, for not being afraid of them at strategic, non-harmful points in the game, of course. By the way, I need to give the Bengals defense a shout out too. They keep doing this thing where they fall asleep in the middle of games. It's extremely frustrating to watch because they're better than that. But they keep coming through in clutch situations. This week, they helped the team get off to a fast start, holding the Chiefs to just 3 points until late in the second quarter. At that point, they proceeded to start letting the Chiefs march all over them, and that was annoying. They scored 21 points in a 14-minute period in the middle of the game. But outside of that, they nearly pitched a shutout. One thing that really helped the Bengals put together a Super Bowl run last year was the defense's penchant for coming up with extremely well-timed turnovers. Jermaine Pratt continued that trend this week after ripping the ball away from Travis Kelce as the Chiefs were marching down the field, trying to extend their lead and starting to put that game away. Instead, the Bengals got the ball at midfield and put together a long, time-consuming touchdown drive, which was exactly what they needed. Then, the defense proceeded to make the Chiefs march down the field and take as much time off the remaining clock as possible, only for Joseph Osai to sack Patrick Mahomes at the last possible second, setting up a 55-yard field goal attempt that actually ended up being a bit too much for Harrison Butker. So yeah, props to the defense for doing their jobs in an incredibly clutch situation, despite my regular belly aching during the stream about how they look all Jekyll and Hyde and everything. The fact of the matter is they did their jobs, and I want to recognize that. By the way, that final drive for the Bengals was an absolute goddamn work of art. The Bengals got the ball back with 3:19 left to go, and we're thinking, okay, if they can just get some first downs, manage the clock, then we can just kind of salt the rest of this game away and escape with a win, right? So first play, Joe Burrow finds who else but Ja'Marr Chase for an 8-yard pickup. feeling pretty good at this point. Samaje Perine puts together a few good runs, and then Joe Burrow gets sacked by George Karlaftis, and they need one more first down to finish this game off. 3rd and 11. Joe Burrow drops back to pass. The pressure is almost immediately on him from a combination of Mike Dana and Chris Jones. But somehow, he keeps his cool and threads a pass to the exact spot where T. Higgins is needed in a sea of defenders. And if that wasn't enough, Joshua Williams, the cornerback of the Kansas City Chiefs, played insanely tight coverage on T. Higgins on that play and had a really good shot at actually knocking it away. But T. Higgins was like, nah, I'm better than you, and secured that ball for the first down and the right to kneel the game away. And that's what they did. So now, the Bengals are 8-4 on the season and are firmly in control of a ticket to the playoffs right now. In fact, they're actually only a few more wins away from clinching a trip to the playoffs. If they win their next 3, they're in, period. And they have the inside track at winning the division for that matter. Technically right now, the Ravens control the AFC North, but if the Bengals can keep pace with them, they'll force a Week 18 game where the winner takes the North. So, while it would have been nice to see the Broncos beat them this week, it ultimately wouldn't have changed the fact that Week 18 is going to be for the championship. Also, crucially, the Bengals are actually sitting in good position to win the AFC's #1 seed in the playoffs after the win over the Chiefs. They'll still need the Chiefs to lose one more game, but other than that, if they win out, they have a legitimate shot, partly because one of those games is against the Buffalo Bills. But obviously, that's still a few weeks away. For now, let me know what you guys thought about the Bengals' absolutely massive win against the Kansas City Chiefs in the comments below, and I'll feature the best ones in my next video, like this one from Mikey Saints Fan for Life, who said that the Bengals-Steelers game went down to the wire. And I guess it sort of did. A key for Lou Anarumo defenses, it seems to me, is that they don't really care what the final score is. That last touchdown for the Steelers was honestly part of the whole big plan, really. Lou Anarumo has all sorts of big brain stuff going on all the time that would usually be seen as way too complicated and cutesy and annoying if you're on a losing team. But luckily, the Bengals aren't a losing team, so it works out, and Lou Anarumo is being talked about as a head coach candidate now. Same thing with this Chiefs game. They didn't really care if the Chiefs went down and got the score at the end of the game, as long as they drained a ton of time in the process and didn't get enough points to put pressure back on the Bengals. But like I said, that's all I got for this week, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. You can always find more of what I do at KylePhelps92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/The Phelps, the Battle of Ohio podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, ATVNetwork.com, Butt Fumble Sports, and right here if you subscribe. So the Bengals remain undefeated against the Kansas City Chiefs at home since 1984, which is still one of my favorite stats of all time. So I'll leave y'all, as always, with a hootie!